Chris, Duke seems to be hitting its stride now, playing maybe the best ball of the season. Would you agree with that? And sort of talk about them a little.
Well, I mean, I didn't get to see them play a whole lot in the beginning of the year because we were focused on who we were playing, but pretty good.
Could you talk just about what they do? So, I mean, they do a lot of things well.
Well, it starts with their talent level. But outside of that, they play together. They play extremely hard. You know, on the defensive end, they have high motors and what they maybe lack in experience at times. They make up for with just basketball instinct, athleticism, length. They play on offense in attack mode. They go from defense to offense as well as any team I've coached against. Coach does a really good job of putting them in positions where they have a lot of space to operate because they're very difficult to defend in one-on-one situations. And again, I think they also are extremely unselfish. So when you double a certain guy or you flood to help, they don't take those bad shots that so often you play against when you go against really good players. And that's why it makes them pretty good.
Chris, with the way that Duke can get to the rim, do you almost kind of have to pick your battles and if they're going to hit and take threes, then that's something you're going to have to live with?
We do that for every game. We try to as best we can figure out how can a team hurt us. Obviously with a team like Duke, they don't have many if any weaknesses, so you have to try to figure out what's important to you as a coaching staff, get that across to your team, and as best you can try to take that away from the other team.
Coach, a lot of teams struggle with their length and their size. What does your team need to do for that not to be an issue for you guys?
Well, you'd like to think that the last game we played gave us a taste of what our team needs to do better in order to close games. We felt like when we were able to take care of the ball, we got quality shots. When we actually had Florida State in the half court and they weren't going 2-on-1 or 3-on-2 with it, for the most part, we defended pretty aggressively and pretty well. But I think experience is a great teacher. We got a lot of experience on the road on Saturday, but a lot of that was negative experience, and we've got to be able to be humble enough to correct it. And doing drills and doing things that every basketball coach with his players is doing to try to correct those things.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that in your time as a head coach you ever played against Duke. I know you had a couple matchups as an assistant. What do you remember from those times that you faced them when you were an assistant coach?
Just how hard they played on both ends of the floor. They played with no entitlement, at least in my past experiences coaching against them. I always felt like when they were on offense, the floor was tilted downhill and guys attacked. It was hard drives to the rim. And, from there they made the right play. On the defensive end, their style was relentless. They denied. They tried to get you out of whatever you were running, and they were very effective at it.
Before Saturday, they hadn't been a very good three-point shooting team. Obviously, they did shot really well in that game. Does that change? Does that complicate things a little bit for you because you've gone in maybe a little bit more relaxed on their threes until that happened, or not?
If complicates equates to makes it more difficult, yes. It doesn't complicate it because their system is pretty vanilla. They don't try to wow you with actions. Like I said, Coach K does a really good job of putting his best players in space and allowing his players to have the freedom to make decisions when they're doubled, when help comes over. And so, it makes our challenge even greater because you have guys that are certainly capable of getting to the rim at a moment's notice. And so if you play too far off, and they're going to shoot the way they did the other night, I think anybody in the country is going to have a tough time beating them.
Chris, you talked about maybe alleviating pressure on CC, particularly both in the break and also initiating offense. Is there a way to initiate offense through someone else, or do you prefer to have the ball in his hands to start sets?
I mean, there are ways, absolutely, where he doesn't have to be the play starter. And my job as a coach is to figure out those ways. But I'm not going to tell you that. There are times when I think when you're running a set play, these guys have all learned their position. Some players have learned multiple positions. But like a guy like Steven Enoch, he's learned the 5. CC's only learned the 1. And so, I know this positionless basketball sounds fun, but if you're going to run a set play for our team, you still have to have 1 through 5 out on the floor, A through E, whatever you want to call them. You still have to go to certain spots. So there's got to be times where if we're trying to run a set play and we can't get the ball entered, we have to be able to flow into something that allows us to be successful on the offensive end. And that's what we've really tried to get better over the last couple of days.
Coach, you mentioned Steven, but him and Malik, of course, they have the task of trying to contain Zion Williamson. So I guess preparation-wise, how are you kind of getting ready for just the abilities that Zion has?
I really tried to, take Wyatt Battle and work on his explosion over the last couple of days. One of our walk-ons. It just it's not quite getting to that level that's needed. So, I know where their players are going, but they go there a lot faster than our scout team. So we just have to be cognizant of him in space, trying to crowd the floor as best we can. Try not to get bullied or punked on the offensive glass. It happens to a lot of players. And that's the challenge that one of their players presents.
To bounce off that, you mentioned not get bullied or punked. So how important is it to set the tone early in this game?
I think it's important to set the tone the entire game. I think St. John's, for the most part, set the tone of how they wanted to play in maybe the toughest environment of all college basketball. And, that tone wasn't kept. So you have to be able to play to win throughout the entire game. And, again, not playing from behind like we did against Carolina is crucial every time you play. But, they're a team that steals momentum quickly with the way they offensive rebound, with the way they turn defense into offense. And we have to be able, as best we can, to take those away. And if we do, then we'll give ourselves a chance to win. And if we don't, then we'll be like their other 21 victims.
Does Zion Williamson remind you of anybody you've seen in college, Chris, down through the years? Is he one of a kind?
I think he's one of a kind. I mean, he has a body like a tractor trailer. Everybody talks about his vertical, and it's incredibly impressive because he doesn't look the part when he's 285, 290 pounds, like he would be able to do that. But what I can't get over on film is just his reaction time, his ability to change directions. You feel like 9 players are in slow motion and one guy's, moving a little bit faster.
Chris, Zion gets so much attention, but do you think some people kind of lose the fact that they have a couple other lottery picks still on this team as well?
I don't care what other people think. I don't lose that fact. I know they're pretty good, all of them.
For Jordan to kind of take the next step, he's obviously getting more attention from other defenses. What does he have to do? He mentioned talking with you yesterday about finding some other ways to score.
Well, I think, I watched film specifically with Jordan after we played Florida State. I thought his first 2 or 3 shots outside of the open court transition layups, one that he missed and got fouled and made the free throws, and another one that he lost the ball. I thought 2 of the 3 threes he took were great opportunities for him to sort of eye the rim, get his defender up, and get inside the arc and get a shot maybe between 10 and 12 feet. you know, when you score at such a high rate and you're such a really good shooter, I think you put a lot of pressure on yourself when the first 2 or 3 shots you take are 3-pointers, because you don't get that opportunity to see the ball go in. Now, if it goes in, great. Now you feel great about yourself, but you know, chances are a lot of times those first couple shots may not go in, and now I think you start to weigh on yourself of hurting your team, and you start to think about, man, I'm 0 for 3. Do I take this next one? And so I think at times when he's got a bad closeout, he needs to take advantage and try to get a closer in shot, see the ball go in, maybe get fouled, go to the free throw line, and now, you know, that first 3-point shot that you get's a really good look. Now, having said that, we've got to know as a coaching staff that, you know, teams are circling him. You know, teams are going to try to, you know, top him and not let him catch the ball. We got to be able to figure out creative ways outside of just, you know, trying to get him lost in transition that can get him those type of looks.
Anything else? Great, thank you.
Thanks.